interesting because I was just watching Manny Pacquiao versus Manuel Marquez too, and without the zone had it without any commentary. It was a hell of a fight. Let me just say, Manny Pacquiao can fight his ass off, and so can Juan Manuel Marquez. Again, one of the most memorable rivalries ever because both guys match up with each other so well that you get these even fights. You know, it's life and death battles. And Pacquiao has had a number of rivalries in his career. Now, why I say that we can make a case for Manny Pacquiao being the GOAT, the greatest of all time, this is not to say that Manny Pacquiao is a greater fighter or better fighter than Floyd Mayweather, but depending on how you argue it, you can make a case for him being the GOAT. It depends on the criteria. If you're talking about rivalries, if you're talking about fights that keep you at the edge of your seat because you don't know if Pacquiao will win or lose, if you're talking about coming in as an underdog, if you're talking about sheer numbers, the number of prime fighters he's faced, great fighters that he faced in their primes, if you're talking about sheer number of maybe not champions, but number of top tier fighters that he has faced, even champions he's faced, not necessarily beat, but he faced. The challenges he accepted, and you look at it on the surface value. If you look at how action-packed his fights were, very action-packed fights. So, if you come from a certain angle, or a certain set of criteria, he's one of just a few fighters who have gone through 4 decades and been world champion in 4 decades. There's a lot of stuff going on there. So, Manny Pacquiao is, exceptional in many different ways. As people say, 8 division champion. He's been a champion in 8 divisions. 2 lineal and 6 world championships. Okay, multiple times in welterweight. You look at all the statistics and stuff like that. You say, oh, man, this man was great. He was great. And by and large, no matter if you're a Floyd Mayweather fan, no matter what fan you are, you're going to universally accept that Manny Pacquiao was a great fighter, and probably top 10 greatest fighters of all time when we remove ourselves far enough away from his career. Okay, maybe even top 5. It's a little harder to see that with Floyd Mayweather because we have people who follow Pacquiao who are haters of Floyd Mayweather, Pactards, and they spread all this poison about him, lies and stuff. But when you're the real deal, because when you have haters like that, it's because you're the real deal. I mean, the man was a perfectionist. I mean, the man had a perfect record. I mean, the man beat everybody of his era. Like, these are things when they talk boxing, they say, that in boxing, if you box long enough or you face the best long enough, you're gonna lose, right? And this guy just totally trashed that whole idea. Okay, so Floyd Mayweather is an anomaly in boxing that you're not going to see every single day. Now, there's some other guys like Joe Calzaghe who left the game also undefeated, but you could sort of look at Calzaghe and say, well, he did face some good fighters, but he really didn't face a lot of great fighters. It's true, all right. You can't say that about Floyd, right? You're talking about a guy who has 26 championship wins, not unbeaten in 26 fights. You're talking about 26 championship wins. Let that settle in your head. It could have been 27. But on 2 occasions, it could have even been 28. On 2 occasions, he didn't fight the world champion because they said, let's not fight for the belts. I'm just fighting you for you. But Manny Pacquiao, to get back to Manny Pacquiao, because Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather are fucking titans, all right? Sorry about the F-bomb, but they are titans, okay? And they stand out like big towers. There's Mayweather, then there's Pacquiao. You know what I mean? They're just so much above everybody else in the era they were in. They just separated themselves from everyone, okay? So the era of Mayweather and Pacquiao is one of the greatest eras ever. One of the greatest eras ever. I just recently I put out I put out a I put out how many great fighters were in the era of Mayweather and Pacquiao. We talking about the names like Winky Wright, Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley, Jab Judah. We had what do you call him? Prince Nassim Hamed, Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera. You got Jose Luis Castillo. We had Stevie Johnston. We had Philip Holiday. You know, we had Costa Zoot. These are the people that existed in the Mayweather era. All right, we had Sergio Martinez, we had Paul Williams, we had Antonio Margarito, we had Miguel Cotto. You know, just going through the names, these are all great fighters. I'm not speaking about good fighters. I'm talking about great fighters. These are great fighters that happened in the era, right? And I mean, I can just go on and on and on. Ricky Hatton, we have Demetrius Andrade, Arislandi Lara. You know, I can just go on and on and on and on and on about the great fighters of those eras, of the era that Floyd was in. And Canelo Alvarez, of course, is a great fighter, and we're going to see him fight Caleb Plant. Most people favor Canelo to win that fight because just the sheer experience and just the quality of opposition Canelo's faced that Caleb Plant just hasn't tasted. I mean, it's just that. It's just that. He has a head start over everybody, right? So the pick for that fight is Canelo, even though it's a 50-50 fight. It's not, but most people are going to say Canelo, right? That's not an easy fight for Canelo, but he may make it look easy. Who knows? I've seen him training. Manny Pacquiao. Why is Manny Pacquiao the GOAT? All right, I went through a video on this already, and I'm already 6 minutes in, 7 minutes in. I'm going to go to 10 minutes, right? Manny Pacquiao is the GOAT, and I'm talking about all time. He's all-time GOAT. Ain't nobody in the history of boxing that had 4 of the 8 divisional original titles. Nobody in the sport of boxing has ever done that. Manny Pacquiao's done it. Okay? Not world titles. Mind you, he had the lineal titles in 2. Made him the man. Actually, he had lineal titles in 1, 2, 3. He had lineal titles in 3. And he had a world title, a sort of a portion, a segment of the world title in one of them. All right? So at junior welterweight, at what am I saying? Sorry. Let me scratch that. At welterweight, he was a lineal champion. Okay. At flyweight, he was a lineal champion, and at featherweight, he was a lineal champion. But at lightweight, he was just a world champion. He was the WBC champion of all champions to have. That's the best, title to have, most prestigious. So that's one thing that no other fighter in the history of boxing has ever done. Period. Point blank. Period. Nobody has ever done that. Okay. Let me give you another one that no other fighter in the history of boxing has ever done. Okay. Manny Pacquiao is the only fighter in the history of boxing. In the history of boxing, this is why we say the greatest of all time. Henry Armstrong had 3 titles. Had 3 divisions. Tried to go for the 4th. Got a draw, right? But here's the other thing Manny Pacquiao did, and this is why we can give him a claim for the greatest. Manny Pacquiao is the only fighter in the history of boxing, okay, to be a world champion in 4 decades. Now, mind you, not just go through 4 decades, but be a world champion in 4 decades. That's totally different, right? He's the only fighter. Bernard Hopkins, I think Bernard Hopkins was that as well, actually. So he's not the only. He's one of few, very few fighters to do that. Okay. So he's not the only fighter. Sorry, my bad. Correction. But he's one of very few. And I can't remember their names, but just one of few, like I said before. Manny Pacquiao is the oldest. This is in the Guinness Book of Records now. Now, the guy who was the oldest first was Randall Bailey. Randall Bailey was 38 and world champion. He was the oldest world champion. And then Floyd came and surpassed Randall Bailey, and Floyd became the oldest world champion. And Manny Pacquiao surpassed Floyd, and he's the oldest world welterweight champion in the history of boxing. Okay? You can't take that away from him. Okay? All right. And then the other things are just astronomical. He has faced 26 world champions, beat 21 of them. He has had a plethora of rivalries. And, you know, all his fights are action-packed and therefore exciting. He has fought from flyweight all the way up to welterweight proper. You can say the beginning of middleweight if you're talking about the original weight classes. He was sort of in the middle, the beginning of middleweight. Okay. And check this one out. Check this one out. Now, Amanda Serrano is the only other fighter who is just one weight class away from matching Manny Pacquiao. Amanda Serrano, though, she goes up and down in weight, which is totally different. Manny Pacquiao never did that. He never went up and down in weight, right? I think he did go up and then down to super lightweight, but I'm talking Amanda Serrano went up to super lightweight and then came down to featherweight, okay? Crazy shit, right? She as I said before, the spirit of Hector Camacho seems to be on her, because Camacho did that kind of crazy stuff too. He could go up and down in weight. And I'm talking big gaps. Like he was up. I think he fought Sugar Ray Leonard at middleweight, and then he came down from middleweight and fought Oscar De La Hoya at welterweight. That's some crazy ass shit that Hector Camacho did. Okay, Vinny Panzienza is another fighter, but Manny Pacquiao's never done that. Amanda Serrano, however, she's done that crazy shit. Okay, wherever she can get a fight, once it's between super flyweight and super lightweight, she can fight you. She can't go much further. It's crazy. She's crazy. I mean, right now she has the featherweight title, I believe. She's unified at featherweight. Now, Manny Pacquiao has never been undisputed. He's never been undisputed. Floyd has never been undisputed. Oscar De La Hoya has never been undisputed. Was Pernell Whitaker ever undisputed? I'm not sure. So you can't really include that accolade with any one of those guys. If Floyd had become undisputed, he would have been the first. He would have been the first full-belt undisputed welterweight world champion. And we're going through welterweight world champions, but he never got to that. Okay. And the other thing is Oscar De La Hoya. If Ike Corte was allowed by the WBA to face Oscar De La Hoya and not have to vacate his title so Oscar would have fought for a unified WBA, WBC. He would have beaten Ike Corte, and then he would have gone on to face Felix Trinidad. If the judges didn't rob him of that victory that he was supposed to get against Felix Trinidad, he would have been the WBA, WBC, and IBF world champion because he faced all three guys. And unfortunately left in judges' hands, and so for Ike Corte fight, they robbed him. Sad, but it is what it is. And they say, "Oh, he didn't fight like a champion in the championship rounds." And I'm like, and you had to beat the champion. You had to, And I'm like, how do you mean to beat the champion? Oscar's a champion too. Felix and Oscar. Anyway. So, I'm in 13 minutes in. Okay, we go to 15 minutes. Okay, so and here's another thing that Manny Pacquiao is exceptional for. All right. Manny Pacquiao has been the underdog in several fights. Okay? He's been the underdog in several fights. Betting underdog, I'm talking about. Now, Floyd has been a betting underdog with Diego Corrales and with Gennaro Hernandez. He was the underdog, right? People didn't expect him to beat those guys. But after that, he never was the underdog again. He never was underdog. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And that's just how good he was. Now, Floyd came from a pedigree background where his father and his uncles and so on were good boxers. And then on top of that, he was able to be picked up by the radar because he was living in the United States. They started seeing him in tournaments and stuff, and they were like, "Oh, that guy, we got to watch that guy, right? That's the dude they talking about." So they were talking about him. However, Manny Pacquiao came out of obscurity pretty much. He was fighting in the Philippines. He was discovered by Leukowitz, and he was brought to America. And when he beat Leo Leduaba, now understand he was a world champion in the Philippines, and he did his thing, and then he came to super bantamweight. He fought Leo Leduaba. And the real buzz about him happened after he beat Leo Leduaba. So he was like a well-kept secret. Okay? So Manny Pacquiao was someone who, I mean, came out of obscurity and burst on the scene. Now, Filipino boxers have, if you look at the history of Filipino, but from Pancho Villa onwards, you look at Filipino boxers, great boxers. All right, they've always had a history of being great boxers. So it's not surprising that Manny Pacquiao is one of the greatest Filipino boxers, if not the greatest Filipino boxer ever. And not only that, but I think he can easily, like I said, with Floyd, with TBE, I mean, you got to hand it to Floyd. Pacquiao, also, you can call him the greatest. You can call him the GOAT, because there are several GOATs that have happened in boxing, by the way, that people don't really talk about. Muhammad Ali was not the first GOAT. But, yeah, Manny Pacquiao is a GOAT. He may not be the GOAT, but he's a GOAT, no doubt about it. And is Floyd a GOAT? Absolutely. But, and easily you can make a case for Floyd as well. But what I'm saying is that Manny Pacquiao is definitely, if you want to call him the greatest, hell yeah, you can do that. If you want to call Floyd the greatest, hell yeah, you can do that as well. Now, Muhammad Ali is really the guy with the trademark name, so Floyd would never overstep Ali, our respect for Ali and all the things that Ali has done in the sport. Floyd will never call himself the GOAT. Floyd will always call himself TBE, and specifically because facts can back up what Floyd has, and there's no disputing whether Floyd is the best ever. There's no disputing that. And I've not only watched fights, but I've also been doing my homework on the history of boxing and all of these great fighters, and there's a lot of great fighters, okay? But none like Floyd, I'm telling you, man. None like Floyd. Like I'm telling you. And not to say that I'm biased or anything. I've read and I've seen great fighters. I mean, I'm gonna tell y'all this. Go check out Tommy Ryan. Go check out Tommy Ryan. All right, this early 1900s, late 1800s. Check him out. Well, dirty fighter, but great fighter. And all of this just to say that there's phenomenal fighters. It wasn't just Jimmy Wild. It wasn't just McPherson. Jimmy McPherson, I think is his name. There were many, many great fighters, and we don't really talk too much about it, but I'm going to go through it in detail on this channel. A lot of great fighters. I'm talking about great fighters. All right. There was a Colombian fighter. What's his name? He beat Emil Griffith. All right. Went all the way up to middleweight and fought the Italian kid. And the Italian kid got the decision on him. I haven't watched the actual fight yet, so I need to see if he won it or not. There's the fighter that beat the Frenchman that beat the kid that came after Sugar Ray Leonard. What the fuck is this? Some of those kind of stupid ass names passing through my head just now. It'll come to me. All right, so you had Milton McCrory, and then he went and beat Milton McCrory. It's coming to me. It'll come to me. Hold on. And Mike McCallum beat him. And of course Terry Norris beat him as well. It'll come to me. The name will come to me. But he was beaten by a Frenchman, Renaud Lacroix or something like that. You should check out that Frenchman. Now the Frenchman, he got beat by Mugabe, John Mugabe, right? But the Frenchman was a good boxer. He was a good little boxer. He was tricky. He reminds me of a forerunner of Lamont Peterson. So he boxed you early, use his defense, box you early, and then he walk you down for the second half of the fight. The Frenchman. And you would think he's a floozy. No, that man ain't no floozy, man. He beat fuck you. Keeps on saying Donnie Lalonde in my head. My head is just misfiring. Because it has a D. He has a D in his name. Anyways, man, it's cool. So yeah, Manny Pacquiao, man, he's a bad boy. He's a bad boy. I'm telling you, man, he can fight his ass off. And of course, what makes him great really is his run from 2000, I believe it was 2007 to 2009, that run really is the great. That's what makes him great. So the run, I mean, yes, I know Alex Ariza was dirty, and it's possible that Alex Ariza was doing something illegal with Pacquiao, but nonetheless, that run is still incredible. So he started off at super featherweight. He beat Juan Manuel Marquez, then he jumped up to lightweight, and he knocked out David Diaz. I mean, knocked him the spark out, right? Knocked him clean cold out. Jumped up to welterweight and stopped Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya said he didn't really feel the stuff, but they called it a day. After that, just think of it on surface value. Don't think of it, don't think of it in detail and all of that, right? Goes down to super lightweight, knocks out fucking Ricky Hatton, jumps back up to welterweight. Check this out now. Jumps back up to welterweight and stops Miguel Cotto. That's a crazy freaking run from 2007 to 2009. That's a crazy 2 years, man. That's an insane 2 years. I think that's what put Pacquiao on this other pedestal. Now, yes, I know he may have been using something illegal, some sort of PED, maybe human growth hormone and oh fuck you, man, my memory's slipping me right now. I'm sorry about the F-bombs. The oxygenated shit begins with E. EPO, right? He might have been using HGH coupled with EPO. A lot of people say, his calf being so big and his head being so big, Pacquiao, it could have been HGH and EPO and some other combination of PED that he was using. And of course, Alex Ariza was giving him shakes, and Alex Ariza is a very shady guy. All right, he's a very shady guy. So I don't pass it by that he was using something, but maybe it was something illegal. Who knows? But it was some sort of something he was using, right? Whatever it was. The point is, the performance is crazy. That's what defined Pacquiao. That's what people call his peak. They call his peak that period of time because he was just stopping everybody, right? After that, he never did a run like that ever again, right? After that, he had the fights with Clottey and I believe Margarito. I think he had Clottey and Margarito. He didn't stop either guy. He did damage Margarito's eye orbital though. And then after that, he fought Shane Mosley, dropped him, couldn't stop him. And then he fought Timothy Bradley, he lost, and then he fought Marcus, he lost. So people say that's his, it was peak performance because in those two fights, Margarito and Clottey, he clocked in excess of 1,000 punches, right? Which had never been seen before by Pacquiao. I think once before in one of the earlier fights he had cracked 1,000 punches, right? But he was like a tornado throughout. So once he burst on the scene with Leo Da Duamba in America, there was no turn back. The man was like a tornado, right? He was tearing through fighters, epically tearing through fighters. And the guy that arrested him, of course, and stopped that flow was Juan Manuel Marquez. But before that could happen, Pacquiao had run through him 3 times, dropped him 3 times in the first round, right? And then Marquez started weathering the storm and outboxing him. And I just watched the second fight, and I saw when Pacquiao knocked down Marquez. Now, Marquez was actually winning the round. He had hit Pacquiao with 2 tremendous right hands, okay? He had just stunned Pacquiao the round before, in round 1. In round 2, I think it was. So, in round 3, he's going in for the kill. Pacquiao starts to measure his left hand. The thing about it is, what was so weird was Pacquiao was literally telegraphing his left. Like he drew back his left hand. You knew he was going to throw the left. He was getting left happy. And Freddie Roach told him to double jab and throw the left. Double up the jab and throw the left. So he doubled up the jab and he's throwing his left and he cocked back his left hand and he's throwing. So you as an observer, maybe not Marquez, but you as an observer watching it says, he's going to throw the left. And Marquez unwittingly went in trying to throw a left hook and he got caught. So he slipped Manny Pacquiao's jab to throw the left hook, but Manny Pacquiao, if you miss with the jab, you can still land with the left. So Manny Pacquiao basically did what Sergey Kovalev did to Andre Ward, but Sergey Kovalev doing it from an orthodox position, which is Andre Ward slipped Sergey Kovalev's jab, but get caught with the right cross. So Pacquiao basically threw the jab and he threw a left cross across the jab and caught Marquez, and so dropped him. And Marquez was winning the round. It was crazy. And a whole round changed after that. Marquez was stunned and everything, and you could see it in his face. But he made it through the end of the round. But Pacquiao was really tearing into him. Pacquiao's a force of nature. You know, PEDs or no PEDs, I think he hooked up with Alex Ariza later on. So before he hooked up with Alex Ariza, you know, he was tearing through people. You know, he always had punching power. You know, he always threw like 100 million punches. So that was Pacquiao. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it was really PEDs that helped him or what. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But what I can tell you is he had an extraordinary run from 2007 to 2009, going up in weight, going through those weight classes and ripping up guys like that. Of course, we know with Oscar De La Hoya, we know the details of it, but the point is he looked phenomenal, and I think that in of itself defined Pacquiao. I think that cemented him as great, you know, because he was tearing through guys that he wasn't supposed to tear through, first of all, and they were prime guys. Of course, again, there are caveats to that, you know, with Cotto and with Oscar particularly, and even with Hatton, there was caveats to, you know, their stories. But I mean, the performance was still crazy. I mean, the boy could fight, you know, and he had a good game plan. Freddie Rose gave him a good game plan. Boy could fight, and you can't take that away from him. You know what I'm saying? Now, you know, no matter what. Okay, it's like Floyd with Diego Corrales. Nobody really talks about how Diego Corrales was complaining that they couldn't fight the fight at a catchweight. Just like Eric Morales, you know, was complaining that hey man, I need to have this at a catchweight. I'm too big for the weight class, right? Diego Corrales complained the same thing. Now, Diego Corrales did go back down to the weight class, and he did beat uh, uh, Joel Casamayor at super featherweight, right? But at the time, he was complaining about it. So, I mean, because he had been at lightweight for a little bit and he was about to move up to lightweight, right? He still came back down after prison and he fought Joel Casamayor at super featherweight. The first time he got a bloody mouth, and the second time he beat Joel Casamayor at super featherweight. So Diego Corrales' story is a little bit more understandable. Eric Morales never came back down super featherweight after he faced Pacquiao twice. So you could tell that Eric Morales, that was not his thing. You know, he was not optimal for the fight. But even having said that, you know, it was still impressive performances by Pacquiao. You know what I mean? It was impressive performances by Pacquiao. And if you go through the history of boxing, I'm more and more I'm seeing this sort of phenomenon where one fighter had a lot of things in his favor. You know, Terry Norris was always generally fighting guys coming down in weight or going up in weight. Marvin Hagler, his signature wins were against guys coming up in weight. Isn't that crazy? And guys coming up in weight. So you look at Hagler's biggest wins, what made him, you know, known. Don't get me wrong, he beat Vito Antiafermo, good fighter. He beat another fighter that was really good. Vito Antiafermo, by the way, he beat who was it? Was it Emil Griffith? I think it's Emil Griffith, or he beat up a number of fighters actually, but those guys were coming up in weight. Emil Griffith was coming up. But I think Emil Griffith he actually beat Dick Tiger. I think Emil Griffith beat Dick Tiger, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know who Dick Tiger is, right? He was a dominant middleweight champion, you know, and Emil Griffith beat him. So I mean, if you guys don't know all these fighters, don't worry. By the end of this year, by the end of or the beginning of next year, we're gonna go through weight class by weight class, all the champions first. And then we're going to go through all the other fighters surrounding the champions and in that era. So by the time we finish everything, we should have gone through like maybe 5,000, 6,000 fighters. But we're going to go through as much fighters as we can because you guys need to have a good understanding of boxing. And it needs to be available and something that the common person be talking about a lot. So people know their history. They may not know everything. Like I can't go through the techniques and the different skill sets and all that the different fighters have. I wouldn't be able to do that. But that's for the boxers to do, people in boxing. But we can at least cover them, give them their shine, so people will know some of the exceptional boxers of certain eras and stuff like that. You know, and not only the exceptional ones, but also even the ones who are not exceptional. It's good to remember all fighters, because all fighters contributed to something. So the more information you have on more fighters, and you might find a fighter with a special skill, which, you know, this fighter never been stopped and stuff like that, you know. Take, for instance, I'm telling you a fighter who was never stopped in his career, besides Barney Ross. Barney Ross was never stopped. But there was another fighter that I was looking at. I'm trying to remember who it is. Yes. Mark Starlin. Marlon Starling, he called himself also the best ever. He said he's the best ever because he had the best ever defense. Marlon Starling was never stopped in his career. And if you want to see a fighter that has really good defense, you look at the entire career and they never been stopped. These guys. This motherfucker is a bad motherfucker. He might lose a couple fights, but you're not stopping him, right? Marlon Starling was one of them. You also had besides the normal list of names, I saw another fighter, a Mexican fighter actually, who had never been stopped in his career. Again, that just a testimony to the defense of the fighter. When you reach a very good defensive fighter, it doesn't matter how old he is, his defense is intact. And once you got your defense intact, I'm gonna tell people this over and over and over again. You want to see a really good fighter who has long longevity, doesn't get damage to his face and stuff. You look at what's his name? You look at Ricardo Lopez, El Finito, right? El Finito looks really good. I mean, I saw El Finito just recently. He's aged so very well, because El Finito never took no serious damage. Never got dropped, well, did he get dropped? I think he got dropped in his career, but he never got stopped in his career. And that's the mark of a very good defensive fighter. All right, so if you want to know what's a good defensive fighter, it's a fighter who's never been stopped. Now, you would say Triple G's never been stopped. So Triple G's a great defensive fighter. Well, I guess you can look at it that way because Triple G's never been even. I don't think Triple G's ever been dropped. Man, he's a tough motherfucker. I don't know what else to say because his defense is not great at all. But Triple G is a guy that's never been stopped. Okay, so it is what it is. I mean, I don't know how to explain that. Yeah. So Manny Pacquiao, anyway, greatest of all time, GOAT. I believe he's the GOAT. Cursor Shields definitely the GOAT. Y'all say, well, you're cheapening the GOAT status. No, I'm not cheapening the GOAT status because, again, one guy was telling me, he said, I was watching his thing and he was asking, don't you think that Mike Tyson is the greatest of all time? I said, I don't think so, but if you think so and if you believe so and you like Mike Tyson like that, then it's all right to think so. You may not have all the facts to back you up, but you can come from a youngest heavyweight champion of the world. So he the GOAT. He the youngest heavyweight champion of the world. And that's one thing you can go with. You know what I'm saying? Who else was younger than Mike Tyson? You know what I mean? It's a weak argument, but nonetheless, the point is, whoever finished fights, within minutes of the first round. Who, if you left your seat or you blinked too long, the fight was over. Mike Tyson was like one of the fastest heavyweights, not to knock out a fighter ever in the history of boxing. So there's different accolades you can use to say, hey man, this man's the greatest because he did this, he did this, he did this, and the aura around him was this. Because the greatest is kind of subjective, and it's also based on it's based on some facts. It's not just based on opinion, but you can say, well, he did this and he did this and he did this and nobody else did this and he was the best at doing this. And so as a result of that, you can even go to things outside of the ring, right? And so greatest, like I said, I always felt the greatest was a subjective thing. I think the best ever, or one of the the best boxers, the best boxer ever, I think it's more specific to boxing and specifically to boxing. You know what I mean? Anyways, man, Manny Pacquiao being the GOAT, I don't see that as a problem. Do I think he's a greater fighter than Floyd Mayweather? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. To this day, Floyd Mayweather's name. Floyd has been retired from boxing now, how many years? 4 years removed from an actual pro fight and 6 years removed from an actual fight against an actual pro boxer, right? And this motherfucker's still there. He's still king of the mountain, all right? He's still a dominant force in boxing, right? And it's crazy because it's like the man's cachet is crazy. And people like to goat mouth Floyd and speak negative about him and evil and say, oh, he's hurting the sport, which is bullshit. You just got too many haters out here. He has done nothing but good things for the sport of boxing so far as I can see. He's expanded the sport. He's made an aspect of the sport fun and entertainment. So he's sort of brought an entertainment aspect to the sport, just like how Muhammad Ali spiced up boxing and made exhibitions sort of popular and fun. And Sugar Ray Leonard also had some exhibitions and had fun, and it can be fun. You know, Oscar De La Hoya, all these guys have been doing exhibitions since, you know, and they still do exhibitions, right? All kinds of fun exhibitions. It's supposed to be fun. Boxing is supposed to be fun. Yeah, Floyd does mega events, makes mega money doing his exhibitions, but at the end of the day, why are you mad at the guy because he can make mega money? He's making mega money because he put in the work. If he wasn't, if he didn't beat everybody's ass, and I'm talking about the best of the best, he beat the best of the best ass, right? If he didn't do that, he wouldn't be in the position he is today. He's at the top of the pyramid. When you talk about Joe Kazaki couldn't sell out, he couldn't sell out nothing, right? You know why Joe Kazaki couldn't sell out what he needed to sell out? One, he wasn't in the mecca of boxing. He wasn't in Las Vegas. One. Two, he didn't face the level of opposition that Floyd Mayweather faced. You're talking about the greatest fighters of all time. You're talking about Manny Pacquiao, arguably Canelo Alvarez, some of the greatest fighters of all time. Will Canelo Alvarez even lose a fight? We don't even know. His only loss probably when all is said and done in his career might be just Floyd Mayweather. That's how fucking good Canelo Alvarez is. All right? Think about what I'm saying. This man's legacy is living on in Canelo and Manny Pacquiao. This man is of course the man's the GOAT. Of course the man's the GOAT. If you're looking at GOAT in a certain sort of way. Now, out of respect for Muhammad Ali, Floyd will never say he's the GOAT. He'll never say that. But of course, it's how you qualify it. It's how you qualify it. But the man's cachet keeps on going beyond the man. Floyd Mayweather will be dead and gone, and his name will still have the brand value. We all know this shit, right? In fact, when he's dead and gone, probably his value will go up, if anything, because the man did some shit that nobody else has done, right? Pacquiao's value is incredible. He's an incredible guy, incredible fighter. People always say, well, he wasn't American, so he doesn't get the respect he deserves. You're right in a way. Because they didn't give Lennox Lewis the respect he deserved either. All right? And Lennox Lewis is an incredible fighter. Okay? I could think of several fighters who were not born, raised in America, and as a result of that, you know, don't get the props they deserve. But I give Pacquiao props. I give the man who discovered Pacquiao props for getting him to America so he could be on the big stage. If he was just back in the Philippines, he would never be as great as, or you just doing the Asian circuit. He would never be as great a fighter as he is today. And sadly, there are other Filipino boxers who used to be in the Philippines. I could think of several. All right, I could think of Donnie Nietes, fucking phenomenal boxer. All right, he's still stuck in the Philippines. They still talk. People, you know, haters want to hate. Donnie Nietes is a hell of a fighter. Hell of a fighter. Okay, still world champion, I think, right now. And all I'm saying is, you know, Filipino boxers, they're getting shine because of Pacquiao. And hopefully Pacquiao opens the doorway for other Filipino fighters besides John Real Casimiro. You know, and you see other Filipino fighters coming, you know, they're signing up at Top Rank and with you know, they're with PBC and so on. So Pacquiao, man, kudos to you. I hope you do a lot for Filipino boxing. I know you do a lot for Filipino basketball. I know you're trying to help the Filipino people. And you've been a great ambassador for them, but now is your chance to let other Filipinos have shine and supersede what you've done. You know what I mean? And you know, he can see he's pushing for Filipino boxers and Filipino people. Because I'm going to say this, man. You know, you're only as great as your successors. So how I put this is, and this is just how great Floyd Mayweather is, right? He got Tank right now. He's tutored Devin Haney. Right, Devin Haney passed through his ranks. Rolly Romero passed through his ranks. Canelo Alvarez, he fought Canelo. Canelo's like carrying the torch for him. Manny Pacquiao, his nemesis, but nevertheless, a man who, after he faced Floyd Mayweather, just kept on rising meteorically to even higher heights because he faced Floyd. You know, I just hope he faced Dennis Ugas and avenge that loss that he had to Dennis Ugas. Hopefully he can do it. We'll see. I don't know. Because that'll just show that he could beat Mayweather's style. I would love to see him end on a positive note. Now, if he can't do it, it's okay. But I think he should make the effort. I know it looks like he's going to retire and it looks like he's going into politics fully. But I hope that by January, he could get that Dennis Ugas fight out the way. Win, lose, or draw. It doesn't really matter. I don't care if he loses or wins. I think a lot of people don't care if Pacquiao win or lose. I think they just like to see him because he's been an underdog so many times. It don't really matter. You know what I'm saying? Um, that the people don't really hate Pacquiao. I don't hate Pacquiao, right? I tell the truth about Pacquiao, but I don't hate him. You know, a lot of people love Pacquiao. A lot of people love Floyd. Don't get me wrong. Okay, a lot of people love Floyd. They're not as vocal about their love for Floyd because they're afraid they would be called Flomos or whatever. But I realize a lot of you guys love Floyd out there, and even the detractors, some of the haters, they're actually jealous of Floyd. They like him, but they're jealous of him, right? Because he beat their favorite fighter and stuff like that. So they don't ever want to give him the kudos that he deserved, and it's okay. I'm cool with it. I know over time they'll be the ones singing the praises the loudest. It's just one of the funniest things ever. Life is weird, but suffice it to say that I think that Manny Pacquiao is just one of those great fighters, and great fighters of all time. It didn't matter what era Manny Pacquiao was in, he was gonna kick some ass. He was gonna kick ass. He was gonna be one of those great guys in the eras, at least before his time. I don't know about after his time, right? After his time, boxers are just getting better and better and better right now. So, and now boxers are switch hitting. You know what I'm saying? Boxers are switch hitting. Everybody's switch hitting now. So that creates a whole new set of angles and just a whole set of new things. So to see boxers switch hitting is very interesting. All right. So the sport is just growing by leaps and bounds, and this is just a whole other dimension to boxing. But what I'm saying is that Pacquiao, man, he would do well in any era. Some people say, well, Sugar Ray Leonard would knock out Pacquiao. I don't know about that. If Sugar Ray Leonard's style wasn't, look, Sugar Ray Leonard was beaten by Terry Norris, and it wasn't just because Sugar Ray Leonard was old and sort of past it. It was also because Sugar Ray Leonard's style can't handle a Terry Norris style. Terry Norris was a boxer. I must talk a little bit more about Terry Norris. And there's another thing I want to say to Terry Norris if this video can get to Terry Norris. You never know. It's the internet. Terry Norris has a neuronal problem where his muscles can't relax like they should, right? So what I would suggest to him is something that doesn't sound intuitive, but it is. I've had a series of muscle cramps. Like I get cramps in my head. I was very, very sick. And I had cramps in my head. I had cramps in my feet. My muscles would tighten and spasm out in my back, my face, my head, and very painful. And I realized that those muscular spasms were actually coming from my gut. For reasons unknown to me, my alimentary canal was harboring gas. And was getting constipated, so food was backing up, and I was starting to vomit and stuff. And so I would suggest to him that he check out his alimentary canal, and try to get that thing to flow a lot. And then you may have bruising in your alimentary canal. So what you may need to do, which affects your nervous system, your neuronal system, and you may even have some internal damage with organs which are emptying things into the alimentary canal and your lymphatics, whatever. So what I would suggest is you use probiotics. You also use prebiotics, okay? Prebiotics and probiotics to seal up your gut, make sure your gut is healthy. The moment your gut is in order, it's going to sort out your neuronal system, because your neuronal system is not just your cerebral area up on top here. It's all of your spine going down. The other thing I suggest to him is deep tissue rectification. I would suggest he go check out Dr. Bo Hightower. Go pay a visit to Dr. Bo Hightower. And he'll run down the specifics. You'll find out what the disease is. Because I specifically think Terry Norris, along his spine, particularly along his spinal area, the soft tissue there, I think it's impeding things, and he's probably got ridges and a lot of ribs, or a lot of ribbing there, and he just needs to get massaged back into shape, because everything's so stiff and everything. And that will also help to relax his body. And even if you have cerebral damage, it could possibly be also because of too many blows to the head. It may also be important to use certain things to improve circulation, which will help to heal back damaged areas. Now, areas which have already um, uh, decayed and died, you can't get those back, right? But because the plasticity of the brain that we've learned, I mean, I did studies back in 2009, 2008, neuronal studies on the plasticity of the brain, and in University of California, Riverside. And there you'll find that the brain is so plastic that it can actually grow back. It can grow back areas which have been dead. But the important thing is to remove the interstitial tissue, the packing tissue in between the neuronal tissue, which may be in the way of the brain actually pushing back those neurons and getting back neuronal growth. So what I would suggest is that you use a natural thing called, I have it right here, castor oil. I take castor oil and I rub it on my joints as well, in between my joints, and it allows for circulation. And then I use eucalyptus oil. Eucalyptus oil spelled EUCALYTPUS. Eucalyptus oil. I use that as an anti-inflammatory just to deal with any inflammation. Also, you can rub eucalyptus oil, or you can drink it. You can drink small amounts of it, a certain portion of it. I can't tell you what the dosage is. And that will also help inflammation inside your body, whether it's inflammation in the brain, whether it's inflammation in organs. So if you have any tissue damage, one, you want to have increased blood flow to the area, and you also want to have anti-inflammatories there. And so instead of using, steroids, you can use eucalyptus oil, which has natural steroids in it that will be anti-inflammatories. So that's what I suggest to the great, terrible Terry Norris. Even though you have neuronal damage, what's really weird, and people don't know this, is that the body has plasticity. It can compensate for the damage that has been done, especially if it's done over a long period of time. And there can be restoration. There's also stem cell, of course, therapy that you can use to kind of help regenerate certain areas. And Terry Norris should really look into all that if he hasn't looked into it already. And so he can get even better. Now, he may have also CTE, but remember, all you need to do to reverse the effects of CTE, fresh air. I can't emphasize that enough. Getting out there, getting fresh air a lot, that will reverse some of the effects of CTE as well, because it's all about oxygenation to the brain. Get as much oxygen to the brain so that, and whatever damaged areas of the brain is plastic. It can be able, once you have some area of the cerebellum, or even if you just have the membrane of the cerebellum, you can use that and you can form new neuronal pathways, which will allow you to continue functioning normally, because you have so many brain cells. It's very impossible to get rid of all of them. So it's all about forming new neuronal pathways, which means constant activity with the joints, your hands, constant brain cerebral activity, constant thought games, brain, and of course the proper nutrients, which I would suggest to you stay away from oils, use natural products. Stay away from too many chemicals. Stay away from perfume and fragrances and those kinds of things. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but what you can use in place of perfumes and fragrances, cocoa butter. Be a friend of cocoa butter. Make cocoa butter your friend. Get the natural cocoa butter. I use cocoa butter a lot. And apply it on your skin. Cocoa butter is very good for, it takes the UV radiance, gives you vitamin D, and vitamin D from there forms serotonin, melatonin, the whole 9 yards of the thing. And so you want to be able to use cocoa butter and use it as a lot, especially in a cold time when your body wants to freeze up and really tighten up. You really want to use cocoa. So you want to get, like, if you have milk or soy products, or where they use almond products. If you have an almond tree in the back, make your own almond milk. If you have your own food growing in the back, use your own food. And what you can do is you can take cocoa. Cocoa is very good for the nervous system. It's very good because it's very rich in the whole plethora of vitamin B's, okay, that you could possibly have, and it has some vitamin E in it, and some other things that help cofactors for enzymes and stuff. Honey is very good. Don't use too much, but honey is very good. If you can get the best bees honey, you know, because it has enzymes and stuff inside of it again to help restore your body. And then just continue your normal exercise routines. Don't over exercise yourself. Your body needs now to de-stress. It's been under a lot of stress over the years. But repair and restoration. I also want to suggest to to uh, uh, to Terry Norris that you check a naturopathic doctor. Notice I didn't say herbalist. Now my cousin, she's a naturopathic doctor in Phoenix, Arizona. There's a whole naturopathic program there, and it works really well in the different people. And they even have naturopathic programs to cure cancer. Okay, literally the cancer goes in complete remission at the end. It's very expensive though, but nonetheless, naturopathic and holistic medicine. In fact, I was watching Elisec back just recently with a guy who was not supposed to be able to walk or talk or anything, and he's walking on his own in the ring because he's using holistic medicine to restore his body. So again, doctor's prognosis and holistic medicine are two different things, and the body is plastic. So Terry Norris, if you've had this condition for so many years and you've been deteriorating, I suggest to you, because you can get your life back, and you can get it back almost to the proceed almost to the level where nobody would know that you had what you had. And the only way that's going to happen though is for you to look more at naturopathic ways. You can still take medication for certain things, but hopefully you ramp off the medication to more naturopathic things. Let me say to everybody out there again, once again, I'm not claiming that people should not take vaccines. COVID-19 is dangerous. Okay, it's a vicious bug. But if your immune system is up to par, if you have a very strong immune system, it's not going to do you anything. Point blank, period. Okay? The vaccination or booster shot that you get is to boost, as it says, to boost your immune system. Okay, and there are two different mechanisms. The first one is they have the RNA vaccines, which is the standard vaccine, which is just you get a messenger RNA that codes for the monoclonal antibodies. And then there's the DNA vaccines that they now have, where the DNA integrates into your DNA in your body, makes the RNA it makes the proteins for the virus. Okay, but it leaves out the dangerous links of the virus that weakens your body, and then antibodies from your virus, the antibodies from your body, attack that, right? Let me say to you, and unequivocally, that your body still has to make the antibodies. The vaccine's not making the antibodies for you. What it's doing is encouraging your body to see a weakened form of the virus, or a fraction, a recognition site on the virus that allows antibodies in your body to be made. So it's forcing your body to have monoclonal antibodies to a virus. You see? Your body would do that anyway if the virus was to come to it. And if you have a robust immune system, virus is not going to do much to you. So what I always emphasize on, I will keep on emphasizing on, to all of you out there, I'm always going to be very consistent, is to keep your immune system strong. Okay? And how do you go about doing it? I'm going to say it one more time. First things, you must sleep properly. Try to get sleep before 12 in the night. Preferably, you want to get it between the hours of 9 and 12. The other thing you want to do is you want to get sunlight. Sunlight is the source of all life. All energy comes from sunlight. Food, plants, animals that eat plants and so on, they all feed off of sunlight. We feed off of sunlight to get nutrients. We form food from the sun. We form we get vitamin D from the sun, right? Melatonin makes it. Okay, next, You want to get fresh air. Go outside and breathe fresh air. And if you're in a city, all right, you try to go to a park or something where there are trees. The trees purify the air. Next, you want to exercise your body. You want it to be moving. You want it in motion so that you can get circulation throughout your body. Most diseases are caused because of poor circulation, poor flow in the body, whether it's poor lymphatic circulation, whether it's poor digestive circulation, whether it's poor blood circulation, for lack of a better word, whether it's bad plasma circulation, etc. Okay? And this is what happens is congestion. The congestion leads to infection. Infections lead to inflammation. Inflammation leads to cancer, diabetes, hypertension, because it's a buildup. Okay? All right. So, exercise. And then the other thing you want to have, it's another R, is you want to have, no, actually, let's go with T. You want to be temperate in everything. Don't overeat. Don't overstuff. You want when you're filled, you feel like you're filled, just stop. Then you also have you want to have rest. You want to always be thankful. You want to be always forgiving. These are mental constructs now. You want to drink a lot of water. Now, water is a tricky one because water can come in bottles. Water can come from taps. Water can come from spring water. Spring water is pretty good. It depends on where you're getting your water source from. But at the end of the day, you just need water. I don't care. Just get the water and drink it, because your body needs water. I said sunlight. T. What's T about? I don't know. Temperance. A is air. R is rest, and R is also relaxation. What is it? I can't remember. And the other T. So Thanksgiving is T. R, I can't remember what R is. R is, I can't remember what the other R is. The point is, anyway, at the end of the day, you want to have these things. You want to have nutrition, proper nutrition. Nutrition is not the only thing. People always feel it's all about eating and exercising. No, it's about your frame of mind. It's also about getting your body enough rest. It needs to have enough rest. All right. So, because when you are resting, that's when your body is actually purifying itself. And if you look at your urine after you've fallen asleep, it's different when you're awake. Okay. All right, people. So you see my eyes, they're nice and white and clear. That's good. My skin's a little bit wrinkly and puffy, and that's because of some bad activities I involve myself in. But as soon as I get myself into the right activities, I should be fine. Manny Pacquiao, GOAT, absolutely. GOAT status, he deserves it. Okay, we're talking about a guy that went across 10 divisions, almost 12, actually 12, out of the 16. Okay. So this guy, he's done a lot of stuff. I mean, he's beaten a lot of world champions. I mean, he's beaten a lot of top tier guys. He's just separated himself. So when you do, accomplishments wise, Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather have accomplished more than every single of the four kings. They've accomplished more. They've done a lot more. They faced more top tier guys than those guys. Okay. I think a lot of people wave the four kings in front of everybody's face. Oh, look, he faced the four kings. He faced the four. That's cool. I mean, but I don't really like it. I think it's like an advertising campaign. Not to say that Sugar Leonard wasn't a great fighter for beating 3 of the 4 kings. I mean, that's phenomenal. But just, it's a kind of overhyped now. We're overdoing it. Okay? But I understand beating the top guys while they were in their primes is what most people emphasize on. And that's not easy for every fighter to do. Okay? And I get it. But at the end of the day, if you're just living off of that, and trying to criticize other fighters because they're not doing that, I think it's kind of in poor taste. You know, boxing's different. It's same, but it's different at the same time. And so, I mean, you look at what Pacquiao and Mayweather have done. You know, even Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto's done some extraordinary things. You know, again, he's kind of made history in what he's done. Those three guys have done quite a lot. And Canelo's doing a lot of stuff too, record-breaking stuff right now. So, I mean, if you can't see and appreciate that, I don't know what to say. You know, I really don't know what to say. Um, we had a lot of phenomenal fighters throughout the years in boxing, but I think Pacquiao's right up there at the top. And we're talking top 10, not top 20, not top 15, top 10. That's all right. I said it. Top 10. Okay? In terms of accomplishments, Manny Pacquiao's top 10. Might even be top 5. I have to look at it and check because he did better than Henry Armstrong. He did one better than okay. Henry Armstrong was undisputed, but undisputed. What did I mean? What I mean? He beat one guy to inherit undisputed status, which was Barney Russ. One guy. Okay, he didn't have to beat 2, 3, 4, 5 guys. You know what I mean? So you know, people got to think about that. And to be undisputed today is a hell of a lot more difficult than back then. You have to get 4 titles. You have to get 4 titles and pull them together. That's very hard to do, especially with these sanctioning bodies and the way how they're moving. So, I mean, you know, it's just one of those things. It's nowadays we have to say you beat the guy. And now you can defend. All right? So that's all I got for now. I'm what you need. Manny Pacquiao the GOAT. Hell yeah, why not? Okay, Mayweather the GOAT. Hell yeah, why not? You know what I mean? Except Mayweather, out of respect for Muhammad Ali, said he's TBE, and he was being more creative and innovative. And why not? A lot of people claim they're TBE. Lennox Lewis claims he's TBE. Why not? I mean, Floyd's more TBE than Lennox Lewis only because of the fact that Lennox Lewis lost fights he shouldn't have lost. That's on Lennox Lewis, right? But, you know, Lennox Lewis, TBE. I mean, Evander Holyfield, TBE, if you want to call himself TBE. You know, Mayweather calls himself TBE. And I can't see why not. I mean, if anybody got a case for TBE, it's Floyd. Anybody. You can call from all the way back to now. Ain't nobody else can call themselves TBE. I listened to some people, you know, they were talking about Anthony Joshua, and they were talking about Anthony Joshua. Which one do you prefer? To be the greatest you could be, or to be one of the greats? I mean, that's a stupid question. Of course, Anthony Joshua wants to be one of the greats, but also he wants to be the best that he could be. Of course, it's both. It's not one or the other. You know, when the guys think about the questions they ask themselves, you got to ask yourself this question, bro. Why would you ask such a stupid question? Of course, the man wants to be the greatest. Of course, he wants to be the greatest boxer ever. Why wouldn't he want to be that? Why wouldn't he want to aspire to be that? And so, you know, it's like one of these things where, of course, Pacquiao, if you're in a competition, don't you want to win? So Pacquiao doesn't want to win fights then, right? He's a Christian, so it doesn't matter. I just need to do the best that I can. I don't need to win a fight. I mean, come on, man. How stupid is it? I mean, it's a competition. What do you expect? You want to win. You want to be the best that you can be, yes. But you also want to be the best that there ever was. Why not? You want to aspire to something nobody else has aspired to, or you want to beat the last, record that was broken, that was there. You want to break the next record. Why? What's wrong with that? It's pushing yourself to be the best that you can be, and the only way you can do that is by pushing past everybody else that has done their best. And why not? Tell me one reason why that's a bad thing. Why is that a bad thing? Those who came before you, they broke records. Why can't you break their records? Why can't you be better than them? You came after them. You're supposed to be better than them. If you're not better than them, then the sport isn't moving forward. So, of course, you want to better them. And when I listen to these young guns say they want to be better than Floyd Mayweather, I'm like, yes, absolutely, you should be. Absolutely, you should be better than him. You came after him. You was able to see what he did. You were able to see all the other greats. All that information is accessible. You can get and study all those great fighters. Watch all those great fights. Watch all the current great fighters. All their current great fights. I want to be like them or better. That's what it is all about. It's about pushing yourself to your max. And if somebody's already done something, it's already broken a certain boundary, then it's about pushing past that because you know it's possible. So anyway, yeah, man, Pacquiao, man, if he want to call himself the GOAT, go right ahead. If people want to call him the GOAT, go right ahead. He deserve it. Just understand, Mayweather beat the GOAT. Mayweather beat the GOAT, and he beat Canelo, another GOAT. Okay, himself being a GOAT. All right, so there's nothing wrong with it. And listen, man, if you guys are putting positivity in the atmosphere about your favorite fighter, and you're saying positive, once you're not talking bullshit, and once you're not talking lies, because I'm gonna check y'all on that. Don't be saying inaccurate information. By all means, do that, man. We're not positive enough about boxing, and we need to be more positive about it. But I'm guarantee you this: what you need, channel, go make sure you guys know the sport of boxing. When you watch my videos, some of my videos gonna be long as hell. Some of my streams are very long, but I'm gonna do some short, compact videos. Don't worry. I'm gonna boil down the history of boxing into about 30 minutes. And chop it up into about 5-minute segments. So you get a little portion here, a little portion here, a little portion here, so you can understand why the sport evolved, because it did evolve. All right, it did change. And I'm gonna break it down piece by piece for y'all, so that you can always share it with anybody, any common person who's got, some people have short attention spans. I'm gonna give it away so that people with short attention spans, man, you can grasp it. You can grasp really where boxing came from and where it is now. You can understand, certain styles and fighting and how the styles evolved over time. All right? So that people can get an idea. So people won't be saying ignorant ass shit that really annoys me. It really annoys me when people say some ignorant things about boxing and make it sound like yesteryear was better than today. Hell no. You guys will get more accepting of boxing, and I'm going to make sure that y'all know the rules of boxing. So when y'all know the rules of boxing, y'all know what's going on in that ring. And also, some of y'all are going to box. I know it. I know some of y'all going to get up in there and y'all going to enter competitions. Some of y'all going to enter the pros. Some of y'all going to enter amateur. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it so that y'all will do it, because it's not that hard. Right? But you got to make sure you got the right people in place. You don't have to become a world champion. You're not doing it to become a world champion. You're not doing it for any. You're just doing it to get experience. And so to get the experience, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough training to some degree. Some of it not so tough. Some of y'all going to realize you got the natural affinity for this thing. And you probably wish yourself, man, I wish I'd begun my career earlier. But otherwise, you got to love the sport, man. And you got to love, knowing how to box and how to defend yourself and stuff, and channeling that energy into something positive. I was listening to one person, and he was talking about how, he was either going to end up on the streets, selling drugs and stuff and getting involved in crime, or he was going to box. And boxing, again, saves so many people's lives. It made money. Some people, lost a lot of fights. They lost almost all their fights. But still, at the end of the day, they got paid, and they was doing something honest. They wasn't robbing people. They wasn't stealing from people. So, I mean, and they lived, some of them outlived the lives of, many friends and many family members who were in another lifestyle. So it gave a way out. It was still rough and tough, but it's a way out. And if you love boxing, you do it for the love. You know what I'm saying? So all I'm saying to people is this: you can fight how long you want. You can fight till you 60. Make sure you got defense. Make sure you got defense. And I'm going to say it again. I didn't think that Evander Holyfield was in trouble when that fight was stopped. Evander Holyfield showed me that he could defend himself, and he was covering up. So once again, I'm going to say this again, because I'm going to repeat myself over and over again, and y'all can go and watch the footage. All right? Evander Holyfield was protecting himself. If I saw his head pop up and his eyes rolling in his head and his hands was down and this guy was pounding on him, then I know that fight need to stop. You know exactly the moment when a fight need to stop. I even hear myself screaming at the screen, ref, you got to get that, stop that fight, ref. You hear me even, I scream at the screen because I know when a fighter just got a shot, okay, that's it. You see the fighter just move across the ring defenseless and he's punch drunk. You know that's it. It's over. stop that fucking fight, right? Um, and that's not one punch too late. That's just a punch where he's stunned. He's not there. He's not there. At that point in time, his brain shut down, right? Or you see a fighter in the middle of a combination gets an uppercut and the head goes back and the eyes roll back in the head. And then you see their guard drop. Once you see their guard drop, you know that's it. So refs, man, you need to know boxing, man. You can't be stopping fights so early, man. If the man's got his hands up and he's protecting himself, even if one shot comes through the middle, it don't matter. He's got his hands up. He's protecting himself. The moment he drops his hands, or the moment you see his eyes roll up in his head, that's when you want to stop the fight. And you want to be in position to stop it. And you should be able to tell the fighter very quickly, show me something. Show me something. I know it's in the moment, adrenaline's pumping and all of that, but refs, you can't stop the fight too fast. Y'all got to get the fine science down. Y'all saying better early than late? No, but sometimes you stopping it way too early. Way too early. Way too early. That's why the fighter would protest you. You'd be like, what you doing, ref? What you doing? Right? You're stopping it way too early. You guys got to stop it when the fighter can't defend themselves. And you will know the moment. You don't need to have 2-3 punches. You'll know the exact punch when that fighter just cannot defend himself. Because you're going to watch their guard drop. You're going to watch them slump over. And you know that they knocked out pretty much. They buzz. You don't need to give another shot after that. But you're doing it too early. You got to give them a chance to fight back. You got to tell them, show me something. Fight back. Show me something. Call their name. Evander, show me something, boy. Evander, show me something. Warn them. But if you don't warn them and you just jump in because, oh, he's 58 years old. Come on, man. Yeah, we know he's 58 years old. He ain't no baby. He been taking shots. Right? He been taking shots. He was perfectly fine at the end of that fight. He took no punishment except for that punch to the stomach. He took no punishment. So why are you stopping it so early? Yeah, he doesn't mind having a paycheck so early, but the point behind it is you're stopping the fight too soon. He wants to earn his paycheck. All right? So that's all I got to say about that. I know some people are going to say, dude, you shouldn't be saying that, but we need to get it right. We need to get it right. If we stop in a fight because we're panicking and we're afraid for the fighter, that's bullshit, man. You know? Look to see what the fighter's doing, man. Pay attention to what the fighter's doing. If he's covering up and he's protecting himself, then what are you doing? You're depriving him from showing what he can do. He wants to showcase his skills too. Yeah, so a fight starts bad. Like I said before, Mayweather versus what's his name? What's the kid name? Logan Paul, right? Logan Paul started flooring him, Floyd Mayweather battering him. You know, I mean, he was lifting Floyd, knocking him this way, that way, around the ring. Now, just imagine the referee say, oh, my 44-year-old man, he's taking too much punishment. And just stop the fight. Ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. So, I mean, exhibition or not, because I heard the fight was an exhibition. I didn't know that. Exhibition or not, you know, let the old man get a shot, man. Let the old man do his thing. Because y'all making it sound like, you know, we can't ever see Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns go at it. Come on, man. Why not? You know what I mean? And Mike Tyson looked good, too. He's looking good for a 60-something-year-old guy. You know, once they got that strength and energy within them, let them do their thing. They know what they're doing in that ring. They older. They smarter. And I'm telling you, man, Evander Holyfield is a smart dude. He didn't take no punishment for a reason. All right, he did fall on his backside, though. But he good. He good. It was good. He was good. Y'all need to stop panicking. It's not like Evander Holyfield's a softy guy. Yeah, his obviously his coordination was off. But he would have gotten himself together, and he would have gotten it in there. He'd have gotten it in there with Vitor Belfort. I really, every time I look at it, because I'm an older guy too, so I know where, and I'm watching the thing, and I'm not seeing, you know, I know Evander was in some trouble. I was laughing and chuckling about certain things, but he wasn't in the trouble where you needed to stop the fight for him, man. And that's tough, because, you know, you got to give the fighter a shot, man. You got to give him a shot. And Evander, shout out to you, brother, for getting in the ring. But brother, you need to do some kind of sparring, bro. You need to make sure you when you get in there, you sharp, man. You can't be going in there and trying to adapt and acclimate. Then you got to do some sparring, man. And you got to train like if it's a real fight. You got to take some punishment. You know what I mean? And sparring, which I don't know if you can take that much punishment. Some guys are saying that you have CTE. You better go check the doctor. Just make sure you're okay. Get CT scans and everything. But they cleared you in Florida, so I don't know if they would have cleared you in Las Vegas if you passed all the tests to start with. But they should test you for CTE. And if you're good and if you're clear, then yeah, man, let's see you do your thing. You know what I mean? And listen, man, you got your life to live, bro. You got your life to live. You only got one life. So if that's what you want to do, if that's what you're hungry to do, then do it by all means. But I'm gonna just say, there's a reason guys the same age face each other. You don't want to be facing somebody who's 10, 15 years younger. I know you used to do that, but this is not the time to do that kind of stuff. So, Holyfield need to, think about that. If you want to fight guys around your age, contemporaries, you know what I mean? Not younger dudes. That's why fighters don't. I never blame Leonard for not facing Julian Jackson and them guys. Them guys way younger than him, from another era. Why I faced him? He faced Terry Norris, and you saw what happened. But if he was to face a Duran again, or some contemporary of his time, he'd have done much better, much better. All right, people, I'm gonna catch you on what you need. Y'all got a blessed day. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. That's what I got for you guys. Blessings. Peace. I'm out.